Hey everybody, my name is Steven and this is the Storytime channel. Just a quick reminder that we have a giveaway going on all this week, so if you're interested and don't know how to enter yet, stay tuned until later in the video and I'll tell you exactly how to. That said, let's get right into our first story of the day by Longshot79, entitled Kid Gets Us Suspended for a Week. Okay, I work on elevators and was, at this time, an apprentice working on service jobs with a mechanic. We'll call him Rick. Now, Rick was a really nice guy, we got along really well, but he had a bit of a short fuse. Thrown tools were fairly normal if he got frustrated. Anyways, we were working on an elevator with the machinery in the basement, and some of it was only accessible from the elevator pit. We took all the steps we normally would, put signs on the walls over the buttons saying that the elevator was out of service, barricaded our work area at the bottom floor, shut the elevator down, and went to work. Now, this elevator had the buttons and doors on the same circuit as the cab lights, which is very unusual for elevators. And we hadn't turned the light switch off because, well, we wanted the lights. Entitled Mom Never Found Out Her Name now comes into play. I'm working in the elevator pit and I hear the elevator doors open and then hear the mom step in and the loud noise of the buttons in the cab being hammered. This quickly turned into her banging and then kicking the doors and screaming for help. This progression took less time than it would have taken for me to get a word in edgewise. I, being the nice guy I am, yelled up to her to press the door open button, but as the sign she had to move to press the button said, the elevator was out of order. A few confused sounding seconds later, the door opens and the mom exits. I'm thinking, okay, no big deal, situation over. Nope. The mom storms down the stairs, pretty fast I'll admit, and starts pounding on the bottom door where we've barricaded off our area. So she's already inside a barrier that's very much there for her safety, and she's screaming at me that I trapped her in the elevator and I need to turn it on now because her baby was on the 4th floor in her stroller and needed to come downstairs to go to an appointment. Now, Rick and I are, as I've said, pretty nice guys, and if she'd come and asked politely when the elevator would be fixed, he'd probably have sent me to go help her. Hey, I'm the apprentice, that's the breaks. But I'd happily go and give a hand. Today would be different. I stayed where I was because, frankly, she can't get to me so she can have her tantrum. Then Rick arrived. She saw him in his elevator company shirt and went off that I had trapped her, and the elevator fell and her baby was in the hallway and needed to come down right now, so we better get the elevator turned on right now. Now, Rick is also very smart and has been doing service for many years. He calmly tells her we can't just turn it on. We have to complete the repairs for safety reasons. The mom goes off again, losing her mind at Rick before using the classic entitled mom phrase, I want to speak to your supervisor. Rick is prepared for this. You see, Rick is technically his own supervisor and his business cards say service supervisor on them. So he hands her his own card and walks outside to the van. Of course, she calls him, tells a story that almost resembles what actually happened, which is the last straw for Rick. Don't freaking lie to Rick. So he maintains his composure and tells her that our behavior was unacceptable and that he would be suspending us for a week without pay. After a few minutes, he came in, knocked on the door where I was waiting, so I opened it up. He leaned down and whispered, pack up and act angry. So I played along, packed up the tools and carried them to the van, straight past the mom still fuming in the hall. On the way out, she asked Rick what was going on and when the elevator would be back on. Rick looked at her, deadpan, and said, well, I just got suspended for a week and I'm the only one who can do this job. So in about a week. A week later, we returned and flipped the switch. I had finished while we were waiting for her tantrum to subside. Now, I can definitely believe every single element of this story except for the flipping the switch in a week, because I imagine they have some kind of agreement, some kind of contract, some kind of enlisted work to do for wherever this elevator is, the company or the building that owns the place. So I can't imagine they just have the leeway to just be like, well, we'll come back in a week and flip the elevator switch on. I don't know, maybe I'm ignorant, I just don't think that would fly. The next story is by JudoChopDaMan. A salute turns into a dirty vindication. This happened a long time ago, and while I have a bunch of malicious compliance stories, this was my first and to this day still makes me smile. Maybe a little evilly. It was a beautiful day. I loved my job. I was done for the day. I got mail. It was 85 degrees out. I was stationed on a tropical island. Life was perfect in my 21-year-old mind. Coming out of the post office is where my day was jacked by, let's call him, Lieutenant Man. In the military, it's customary to greet oncoming officers with a crisp salute followed by a good afternoon sir or ma'am, oncoming being the important part. Lieutenant Man comes rolling up on my left side like a ninja, grabs my arm and proceeds to point to his insignia and demands a salute. I tried to explain that sneaking up on an unsuspecting enlisted people isn't how salutes were meant, of course in a roundabout way. After a berating and a lesson in customs and courtesies, I saluted him and tried to regain my beautiful day. Didn't happen. Next day, I filled everyone in on Lieutenant Man. We all laughed it off, became a joke, running up to me demanding a salute, etc. Then 2 weeks later, I was called into the office where I was introduced to a new lieutenant that would be shadowing me. I was to give him a hands-on lesson in what I did. It was Lieutenant Man, not a glimmer of recognition in his eyes as I shook his hand. A little info on what I did in the Air Force. My job was working on support equipment for the aircraft. I was assigned to a 3-man refurbishment crew. The salt air was terrible for the equipment, so we would tear it down and make it new. By the end of the day, you were dirty in places you shouldn't be. Lieutenant Man's uniform was pressed to perfection. Boots were high gloss, hands had never touched a wrench in their life. My goal was to make sure that changed and to bring back the beautiful day he stole from me. I picked the nastiest piece of equipment and had him doing everything I did. He was covered in dirt, oil, grease, rust, and years of paint. By the end of the day, his uniform had ripped, his shoe had a gouge in it, and his knuckles and fingers were bleeding. While this was a normal day for me, it wasn't for him. We walked into the office and the chief looked at me like, what the freak? Bud was like, I hope you learned a lot and sir this and sir that. After he left, I got an earful about respect, how I should have got him some coveralls, how I was supposed to show him and not make him a worker, etc. After he was done, I told him he was Lieutenant Man from 2 weeks ago and he was like, what? Really? Then laughed and saluted me. It was one of the best days I had there. Not only sneaking up on somebody that's unsuspecting is rude, just grabbing somebody is rude. Do you think what OP did here was a little over the top as payback for what the lieutenant did to him originally? As far as all the dirt, the torn up uniform, the sore hands? Let me know in the comments down below. The next story was written by Too Fat to Handle. Free work backfired for greedy father. So my dad makes me pay $800 a month to live with him. It's the same price as a good apartment where I live, and I always pay on time. At the end of July, I paid the $800 for August and he set the money behind the TV. I got in an argument with my dad and he starts getting heated. He tells me that I didn't pay rent and if I don't do 3 hours of yard work every day this month, then he'll call the police and burn all my things. So, as he suggested, I get my boots and work gloves on, take the non-existent rent money from behind the TV and started working. I love yard work by the way, so this was a steal of a deal for me. Later that night, I heard him throwing a fit because he lost the rental money and now my mom is mad at him. He's always taking advantage of my kindness and he's always trying to find out how to get the next dollar out of me. Yeah, if this is the same price as a good apartment, I think it's probably about time for OP to consider moving out rather than trying to deal with arguments with your dad and having to really put up with unnecessary stress and drama. The next story is by LampShadeOfDesire. Airport car rental requires a return flight ticket to rent a car without a credit card. This happened in 2018. I flew into Denver, landing at about 11 p.m. I get to the car rental counter for Hertz and give them my info. They ask for a credit card and I hand over my debit card. At the time, I did not have a credit card. The teller gives me trouble and says I either need a credit card or a return flight ticket if I am going to use my debit card. The problem is, I was meeting friends who drove out from Ohio and driving back with them, so I didn't have a return flight ticket either. My mom tried giving the teller her credit card over the phone, but the teller wouldn't take anything without my name on it. After about an hour and a half of bickering, I bought a return flight and showed the teller the ticket info and then immediately refunded the purchase. Got my rental car. This one doesn't sound that malicious. It sounds more annoying compliance or something like that. But in the end, I'm glad that OP was able to get the rental car. The next story is by Sweet Poison 02. Racist and sexist customer claimed he couldn't understand my accent, sent him to another call center that spoke English. So a few years back, I worked in a call center that dealt with internet and mobile phone service. I had to leave due to the stress of the job making me sick, so you can imagine I have a few insane experiences. This one will always stand out as the most out there. It was a fairly regular though stressful day, 8 hours in the billing department dealing with idiots who don't seem to understand that if you went over your limit, you were of course going to be charged extra when this guy's call came through. He was English, and the second he heard my accent and realized I was Scottish, he got very aggressive with me, claiming he could not understand me despite answering all my questions just fine when I responded. He then began to demand I transfer him to an agent who spoke proper English, and that I should go back to doing what Scottish women did best, which he then told me was doing drugs and sleeping with men for money, and that I should quit my job and let someone more educated take it. I was beyond pissed off at this freaker, but I wasn't about to curse him out. That would get my butt on the line, and yes, I had the right to hang up on him as he was verbally abusing me, but I decided to mess with him instead and told him I was actually overeducated to handle him as I have 2 HNCs from college. But if he felt another agent was more suited, I would transfer him as we had many call centers that spoke English. I then transferred him to our department in India and left a note on his account as a warning to the future agents that picked him up. Honestly, I hope they have like a million different call centers all over across the world so that when they go to India and they complain there, they can send them around to a different country with a different accent and just send this guy on an endless loop carouseling around the world. Our next story is by heynonnynonnomous. I'd better be wearing a hat, you say? First, I should mention that my hair is pretty long, and at the time, maybe 10 years ago, it had been dyed a bright screaming orange. I do get lazy about maintaining my dye jobs, so while it was undoubtedly orange, it was pretty faded. We had a big opening on the following day, and I was mentioning to a coworker that I was going to re-dye my hair for the occasion. I was really tired of my dull hair and couldn't wait to have my screaming orange again. Well, the assistant to the boss was standing nearby and overheard what I had just said. He told me that if I was going to come in like that, I'd better be wearing a hat. I did not even have to mentally go through my hat collection. I knew exactly what I was going to be wearing the next day. I have a very nice felted wool fedora and a glorious fluorescent orange. He looked pretty mad when I came in that morning and didn't speak one word to me the entire day. I wore it almost all day. My coworkers laughed their butts off. My only regret? My flaming orange hair did not quite match my flaming orange hat. Hope this works. The hat. The hat is definitely a bright neon orange, and I think that's a perfect payback for something like this. If they don't have any restrictions on hair colors at the job, then they have no right to tell you that you have to wear a hat. I hope they realized how hard they ate their own words after seeing that hat. The next story is by Yakatchi. You want 1 bag of horse treats? Okay. Little background story. I have this amazing friend who has the kindest heart I know, but has it really hard in life. I know not many people with as much bad luck as her. However, this does not keep her from always being friendly, thoughtful, and helpful. Every small thing she has, she shares. This brings me to the main story. Together with her and another friend, I own a small pony, Bonnie. She does not have a lot of money and can't afford to buy nice stuff for Bonnie. A few weeks ago, my phone broke and she offered to sell me her working and in mint condition Huawei P20. I asked her what she wanted for the phone and she sent me a link of a head collar she wanted for Bonnie. The thing was €10 and I said that it felt like stealing and if there wasn't anything else she would like to have. She said that if I insisted, I could always buy her 1 bag of horse treats. Cue the malicious compliance. She asked me for 1 bag of horse treats, but she did not say the brand or size she wanted. I went online in search of the largest bag of horse treats I could find. I found one for 25 kilograms and bought it for her. When I presented her the bag, she couldn't stop laughing, and that was 100% worth it. This is a really great friendship to hear about, and it's a very wholesome one. They're trying to give you a possession of theirs that's worth a fairly decent amount for 10 euros? They're asking for so little. They have such a kind heart. So quickly now, I just want to give you info on the giveaway. So if you want to be in with a chance to win $30 in Amazon gift cards, all you have to do is leave a comment pertaining to something you saw in the video on any video we upload this week, and I will pick a winner from a random video on Sunday night after the last video has gone out and announce it on next Monday's video. So feel free to comment on every video from the week to better your chances of winning. Again, I do want to stress that the comment has to be related to the video, so you can't just leave a random comment and expect to win. And whilst you're at it, why not like the video, because it helps more than you know. That said, our final story of the day is by CPOMendez. Sometimes it pays to listen to the post-production department. I work for a TV production company as a media manager, and because I am the only one, also the head of post-production. Basically, my job requires me to manage all media coming in and, after editing, delivery to the broadcasters. We were on the final episode deliveries for the broadcaster of a huge project. This project was 16 episodes, a talk show, and lots of money involved. On this particular episode, while making the final delivery file, master file, I noticed one of the drones had a malfunction while filming, which basically meant that the sky in the footage was showing horizontal black lines. I went to the editor and asked if he could fix it, since it is most likely the broadcaster will reject the episode. His reply was to send it anyway and that it will be fine. I even told him it was an easy fix, but he rejected it, because he was an editor and he knew more about it than me. Due to earlier experiences and the specifications required by the broadcaster, I knew it wouldn't be fine, so I involved the production leader of this project. When we both went up to the editor again, he said the same thing, and we sent the file to the broadcaster anyway. Not even a day later, it got rejected, as expected, and we were requested to fix the footage. Either replace it or figure out a way to make the lines disappear. So up to the editor it went. Both me and the production leader joined him in the edit suite. We both watched him struggle for about 5 minutes until I asked him, what if we replaced the sky with the sky from earlier footage? His face lit up and he started it. In about 5 minutes, he was done. I sent it to color correction and after that to the broadcaster, at which point it was accepted. He later got a reprimand for the whole ordeal due to wasting time, money, and sending a bad file to the broadcaster. I haven't seen him since. This guy kind of gives me a little bit of fake it till you make it vibes, because while there was visual errors with the recording, it seemed like a situation that could very easily be figured out if they knew potential troubleshooting or potential experimental things that they could do to fix it. The person seemed absolutely dumbfounded how to fix the sky issue, when any good editor would be able to come up with some kind of at least attempt to explore fixing it. I don't have great experience as a video editor, but I know that sometimes a lot of what good video editors do is they're able to think on their feet and come up with potential, sometimes hacky solutions to problems. The fact that this person seemed dumbfounded and couldn't do anything is a major red flag. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today, so if you enjoyed the stories today, please consider giving the video a like, and if you haven't, subscribe and turn notifications on so you'll never miss an upcoming video. And if you had a favorite story of the day, let me know which one and why in the comments down below. But no matter what you did, whether it was liking, commenting, subscribing, whatever you did, thank you all so very much for supporting me right here on the Storytime channel. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and as always, I'll be back tomorrow with more Reddit stories right here on the Storytime channel.